the face of darkness, I stand tall and strong. With faith as my shield, I'll keep marching on. You may try. Hey, what up, everybody? I hope all of y'all is having a blessed and humble morning. Continue to have a blessed and humble day. Trying to make sure my mic is working.
Hey, what up, everybody?
All right. I want to welcome all of y'all to the Writers for Life Brings You Let's Talk About It podcast, y'all. Y'all know when it comes to the podcast, we talk about it all. But today, right, we're going to talk about politics. Are politicians for us, right? Blessings, Commander. What up, man? Yo. All right. So let's dive into a discussion about politics. Today we'll focus on whether politicians truly serve the best interests of the people. Your opinions and perspectives will be our guide as we review some videos to see how different politicians act and make decisions. We'll analyze together and draw conclusions based on what we see, right? Today, right, we're gonna be reviewing and reacting to we got Senator Hawley, right, and Judge Ketanji Jackson going at it at the senators' meetings. So we're gonna listen, right? And before we get this video started, right, a lot of people know, right, when it comes to this channel, we build caskets, right, for predators, yo. If y'all haven't, right, make sure y'all, well, my TikTok's not up, so I'm gonna have to, whether I like it or not, a shorty is gonna have to. I'm gonna have to restart my website. That's what I'm gonna have to do. I'm gonna have to get back onto my website so that way y'all can go check out, right? But y'all can always DM a shorty if y'all interested in any of our hoodies, right? Any of our merchandise. We do got, right? We're building caskets up in this joint. Rest in peace, #predators, right? For all the predators. Anybody interested in any of the Writers for Life merchandise, just DM a shorty. My Instagram is in the chat down below, right? Along with my other two channels, yo. But let's get this joint started, right? We're gonna hear what Judge Ketanji Jackson has to say about these predators, right? All right. Judge Ketanji is known, right, for giving predators lesser time than what the government would normally give a predator, right? A lot of people has complained about this. This was one of Biden's nominees, right? It's crazy, right? Because my family grew up being a Democrat, right? And I never was really interested in politics when I was younger. I didn't get into politics until I had to really, start asking for resources for my community, start defending my son against the school district of Philadelphia, and much more. So, right, when I really had to start defending my son and learning about the our rights, his rights, my rights, and much more, is when I really got heavy into politics, and it drew an interest because I never knew that I could do something, right, as a civilian, as a citizen. I thought that all these things had to be done by, whoever was running the office, right? The president, like a lot of people, right? At one point of time, a shorty forgot, right, that the legislators, right, are the ones you got to go to. Those are the ones that make the laws, the policies, and much more. So if we want to change, we want a difference, those who we got to aim for, those who we got to talk to. But today, right, we're going to sit here, right, and analyze, right? I mean, not analyze, figure out together if Judge Ketanji Jackson is for us, we the people. Me personally, right? My personal opinion, I feel like she's not. I feel like she's a danger to our kids. I feel as though she has predator tendencies, right? And what I mean by that is like, she supports predators. Like, for why? Why are there judges out here knowing that they can give these mofos, right, the maximum time? There are judges out here like her that would sit here and give somebody that's got child pornography, right, promoting child pornography, or could be a part of, human trafficking, sex trafficking, and all that, lesser time. She gave somebody 2 months. 2 months when she could have given them 2 years or longer. I'm sitting here like, why doesn't she use her power, right, and put these mofos away? But no, she thinks that these predators deserve a second chance, no matter what crime they have committed. So in a shorty's opinion, Judge Catania is not for us. She ain't for our kids. If anything, right, we're going to be losing more of our kids because she wants these predators out here walking in these streets while innocent people are locked up. Let's hear her excuses.
Being here. Congratulations again on your nomination. I want to start where Senator Blumenthal left off. I want to talk with you about some of these cases. I mentioned them yesterday, so I know you know which ones I want to talk about. These 7 cases, child pornography cases, in which you had discretion. They came before you. You had discretion to sentence one way or another in these 7 cases. Not every case, of course, do you have discretion. Sometimes the law requires you to depart both from the federal guidelines and also from the government's, the prosecutor's recommendations. Senator Lee's asked you a little bit about this. Senator Cruz has asked you about it. He had a chart with the 7 cases on it. Before we jump into those, I just want to correct the record on 1 or 2 things. Senator Coons suggested that in 3 cases, Nickerson, Wynn, and Fife, you actually imposed sentences either within the guidelines or at the same level of the prosecution. But in Nickerson, you didn't have any discretion. That was an 11C1C case. The law bound you. And Wynn wasn't a child porn case, and neither was Fife. Just one other quick thing to clarify. As to these comments about the probation office doesn't issue national guidelines, right? I mean, the probation office doesn't issue sentencing guidelines. They're not public. They're not recommended to all judges. The probation office provides advice to judges case by case, usually in private, usually not available to the public. Is that right, Judge?
Not exactly, Senator. The probation office in criminal cases is assigned by the court to work with respect to the evaluation of cases, in every case consistent with Congress's requirements. The probation office prepares a pre-sentence report in which they review all of the statutory factors concerning sentencing. Congress has a statute for sentencing. It requires judges to consider the nature and circumstances of the offense, the history and characteristics of the defendant, the need for the sentence imposed to promote various purposes of punishment. There are many purposes listed in the statute, and the probation office is the arm of the court that does factual investigations in every criminal case, unless there are certain cases in which you can waive it, but the background is the probation office's assessment of the facts related to a particular sentence and a particular crime. And the probation office's report, when a court sentences, actually, in most cases, becomes the findings of fact of the court. And so the probation office appears just like the prosecution and the defense. The probation office has written a report and they make a recommendation to the court based on their independent analysis related to the facts of a particular crime and defendant and sentence.
Understood. So they give the court counsel. Understood. However, they don't issue guidelines. They're not uniform. It is by its very nature a case-by-case inquiry, as you said. The report goes to the judge. As I understand it, the pre-sentencing report, I'm sorry, the probation reports are not public in all of the cases that we're talking about here. I'd love to see them if they are. But it's not as if there's one set of guidelines that are federal sentencing guidelines, and then there's the probation guidelines. The probation office is giving advice to the judge. It varies case by case.
Senator,
but it's not the same.
Sorry, I thought you were done.
No, that's all right. Let me ask you about a specific case. I mean, let's talk about. I listed these 7 cases in which you had discretion and you did not follow the prosecutor's recommendation or the sentencing guidelines. But let's just talk about one of them because we've talked about some of them as a group. Let's talk about United States versus Hawkins. I think that's one you probably remember from 2013. The defendant there was Wesley Hawkins. He was 18 years old at the time. He uploaded 5 video files of child pornography from his computer to YouTube. This is how the police got onto him. He then uploaded another 36 depictions of child porn and other lewd photos of children to his iCloud account. When the police executed a search on his apartment on the premises, They found 17 videos on his laptop and 16 images of child pornography, all of them very graphic, some of them involving very young children. 17 videos in particular. This is from the government sentencing memorandum in this case, just so we understand the facts. Here are some of the videos that the government charged and they recovered. There was a 24-minute, 6-second video depicting a 12-year-old male committing a sexual act. I'm not gonna read exactly what it was. There was a 1-minute and 57-second video depicting an 8-year-old committing a sexual act. There was an 11-minute and 47-second video depicting an 11-year-old committing a sexual act and being raped by an adult male.
Oh, wow.
There was a 15-minute and 19-second video depicting 2 11-year-olds committing sexual acts. There was a 7-minute and 51-second video depicting a 12-year-old committing a sexual act. So, as the government said in this case, and I'm quoting now from the transcript of the sentencing hearing, 17 videos is a lot. And some of the videos, including the ones that are described in the statement of the offense, and I've just related some of them, are very lengthy and include numerous images, numerous views, sometimes collages, sometimes multiple victims. You see the act in progress. The government goes on to describe some of these as sadomasochistic images. So this is a tough case. This is one of those tough cases you were referencing earlier. You talked about it this morning. Said these cases are terrible. This is one of them. This is terrible stuff. This is not a good guy who's doing this stuff. Guidelines.
So she is known for giving these guys lesser time. You heard, right, what this man was caught with, right? How much time do y'all think she gave him? I don't know why her obsession with giving predators lesser time for the crimes they have committed. But my thing is, right? What is it with her and these predators? Like, is she one? Is she on the low? Like, is she covering up for one? Like, as a judge, you have the ability to sentence these mofos, right, to the maximum time that the government can give them. But you choose, right? You choose as a judge to give these perpetrators that have committed vicious crimes on kids, on women, on men, 2 months, a year, 2 years, when they can get years behind bars. What is it with her and these predators? Why does she cover up for them? Why is she so easy on them? Why?
His recommendation in the case was 97 to 121 months. So if I'm doing my math right, that's up to 10 years. And in this case, the guidelines recommendation was essentially written by Congress, because in the PROTECT Act of 2003, Congress specified what they wanted the range to be in these kind of cases. And Congress also specified what they wanted the mandatory minimums to be. I know you remember the PROTECT Act because you've talked about it. You've given lectures on it. And it was enacted, as I said, in 2003. It was 84-0 was the vote here in the Senate. The reason the PROTECT Act was put into place is the Senate was concerned over lenient sentences by judges in child porn cases. Which is what you described. You said about it, there was an increasing perception on Capitol Hill and within DOJ that liberal judges were to blame for the downward pressure on federal sentences and that legislation was necessary to rein them in. That's you in 2011 describing this law. So Congress has set the guidelines here, 84-0 in the Senate. I noticed the chairman voted for it, as did a number of other members of this committee. So the Congress sets the range. Essentially, it's 97 months up to 10 years. Now, the prosecutor in this case, this is in D.C., of course, you're on the federal district court. Prosecutor in this case, it's a liberal administration, I think it's fair to say. This isn't the state of Texas. See my colleague from Texas next to me here. The prosecutor in this case, nevertheless, still asked for 2 full years in prison. You gave the defendant 3 months. Guidelines called for 10 years. Prosecutor wanted at least 2. You gave him 3 months. By
law, the government, right? The 10 years. That's what, that's how much time she could have gave him. 10 years for this, right? The prosecutor wanted 2 years. Shit, that's being lenient too. But this hoe over here gave him 2 months. 2 months for distributing this type of child pornography. 2 months. That's all he had to do for having explicit videos of children doing sexual acts. And this is a judge. A judge that somehow, right, we're in 2025, and Biden's the one that put her in office. Is still in office. Why? How? Biden and Kamala shit, like I told y'all. This is crazy. Because this year people was forced to choose between worser evils. Which one was the worser evil they had to run our country? Right? Either way, is like, I see it as like looking at everything is like, whoo. But I'm not gonna say you're not right. The policies that Trump got, some of them are good. Some of them is like, oh shit, is y'all ready for what's coming? But we're not talking about Trump's policy, or right now we're focusing on these politicians that are in office right now. Should they be still in office? Are they benefiting us, we the people? As you can see, we have a judge right here, right now, giving predators lesser time for committing the crimes that they've committed. Why is she being so lenient is my question. Is she a predator herself? Does she got predator tendencies, or is she covering up for a predator? Or has she been covering up for people that she cares about that could be predators? I'm just asking. Those are just random thoughts. Biden and Kamala is worse. Real shit. But I feel as though Kamala and Biden were worse. Like, y'all don't see it. Like, I know people get mad at me for my opinions. Well, that's on y'all. Listen, if you get mad at me for my opinion, there's nothing that I could do. I don't think you should be watching me. I feel as though we could do something, but we're so divided, right? That, grenades got thrown, bombs exploded, debris in the air, dust in the air. People, still having a hard time seeing. They got to get some, some glass windshields for their eyes and shit like that. Maybe they'll, clear up their eyesight.
And when you did, you made a number of arguments and statements in the record, and I'd like to go through some of them because I've read them all. And the first argument you made was that the federal guidelines that punished child porn offenders, the ones that Congress wrote, were, and I'm quoting you now, are in many ways outdated. That's your quote. And you went on to say about why you thought they were outdated. I'm going to quote you again. You say, and I quote, "I don't feel that it's appropriate to increase the penalty on the basis of the number of images or prepubescent victims," meaning little kids, "as the guidelines require, because these circumstances exist in many cases, if not most, and don't signal an especially heinous or egregious child pornography offense," end quote. I just want to ask you about that because I just have to tell you I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around it. We're talking about 8-year-olds and 9-year-olds and 11-year-olds and 12-year-olds. He's got images of these. The government said added up to over 600 images.
God damn.
Gobs of video footage of these children. But you say this does not signal a heinous or egregious child pornography offense. Help me understand that. What word would you use if it's not heinous or egregious? How would you describe it?
Thank you, Senator, for letting me address the concern that you've put forward based on the record that you've reviewed.
She bad?
As a judge who is a mom and has been tasked with the responsibility of...
She's a mom. She's a mom, but yes, she's being lenient on these freaking predators. A real mom will not be lenient on these predators. Yo, see, this is why a lot of people say fuck the justice system. We going straight to street justice. This is why a lot of people take the damn justice, take justice into their own hands. This is like, yo, man, I have to watch what I say. Like, I really have to keep cutting myself off because I will go in on this shit, yo. This is why a lot of people take justice into their own hands. Can we trust the justice system? I mean, it's doing what it's supposed to do, but are the people in it doing what they got to do? And that's a no. These people come into office, right? They see they got all this power, and instead of doing the right thing, they prefer to be corrupt. And we sit here and watch it and let it happen. Some scared to make a move. Others, I don't know what the hell is going through their head. We do got warriors, you know, with their boots strapped on, marching, speaking up, you know, putting that fight. But it's not enough out there because of all this division. She getting paid to do that. They all getting paid to do that, yo. It's like, I swear to God, yo, I keep saying it, yo. We've let somehow, some way, right? We've managed to suck out Hollywood from the screen and bring it into reality. For real, for real.
Actually reviewing the evidence that you would not describe in polite company, the evidence that you are pointing to, discussing, addressing in this context is evidence that I have seen in my role as a judge. And it is heinous. It is egregious. What a judge has to do is determine how to sentence defendants proportionately consistent with the elements that the statutes include, with the requirements that Congress has set forward.
Well, the requirements were that you can give him up to 10 years for that crime that he committed. The prosecutor was trying to give him at least 2. Bitch, you gave him 2 months. Where is the justice in that? Where did these kids get justice in that act? Yo, boy, man, she makes me get in my Olivia Benson bag, yo, but hood Olivia Benson, like, yo, you really bring out the hood Olivia. I could be professional, but I cannot talk professional to mofos like this, yo, because they bring the beast out of me, yo.
Unwarranted sentencing disparities is something that the Sentencing Commission has been focused on for a long time in regard to child pornography offenses. All of the offenses are horrible. All of the offenses are egregious. But the guidelines, as you pointed out, are being departed from even with respect to the government's recommendation. The government, in this case and in others, has asked for a sentence that is substantially less than the guideline penalty. And so what I was discussing was that phenomenon, that the guidelines in this area are not doing the work of differentiating defendants, as the government itself indicated in this very case. And so that's what I was talking about. But I want to assure you, Senator.
Yo, wait a minute. Hold. The guidelines are there. They were already made. And it specifically says that you can give this mofo 10 years. You had the option to give him from 2, like the prosecutor wanted, and on up. As a judge, you had that ability to do that. But you chose not to. According to your evidence, right? I don't know what you saw and what you read from the evidence, right? But even Holly just read this John right here. He read the transcript a little bit. You let him slide. No matter what you want to look, how you want to look at it, you let a predator slide. 2 months for that type of child pornography? I wonder how many teachers are you letting slide that come across your table? You know how many teachers alone have been charged for sexual abuse and misconduct with kids? So what, you gonna give them 2 months too for taking the innocence of these kids? You dumb hoe.
That I take these cases very seriously, that these cases
You're not taking nothing
include
serious.
the notion by many defendants that the folks at issue, the defendants themselves, are collecting these images on the internet. They're terrible things that have happened, but they're not involved, say the defendants. They're not focused on, what is actually happening to the children. And so part of my sentencings was
She said they're not focused. You know what's crazy? Whoo. Do you know the type of stuff that people have done? Like, yo, it's crazy because at one point I thought the same thing. Oh, they're just people collecting images, right? They say that they put out pornography and all this stuff, right? So that, the urges could be controlled, this and that, right? They got so many, theories out there, right? So many scientific theories and all this and that, right? But then again, that contradicts a lot of stuff when it comes to the predators, right? These people that are obsessed with these kids, right, end up, right, when they cannot, how can I say it? When the more and more they watch pornography and they do this and they do that, right? When they can't touch these kids on these videos, they'll go out there and try it. Castration hasn't worked. None of them type of methods that they have tried, right, has not worked. Therapy, treatments, none of that shit has worked for these predators. They've gotten castrated and found other methods to sit here and violate victims with. That's the crazy part. At one point, I was like, yay, let's castrate them. Oh, snap, motherfuckers have been castrated and still sitting here doing this. I'm saying, whoa, whoa, whoa. Okay, so if castration doesn't work, then let's build caskets. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, I see no other method than just to, build a casket, right? And, dig up a grave 7 feet or deeper. What else can I say? Like, there is no cure for a predator that's out here taking the innocence, whether it is of a grown woman or a little girl, a grown man or a little boy. And y'all keep forgetting that groomers escalate. Every situation escalates. And a lot of people don't take that into consideration. If there is proof to back that up, why are you being lenient? Once the signs are there that they could be predators, right? Why are you being lenient? If what's crazy is, right, I was having a conversation with somebody about this, right? I was like, what if the predator is a kid, right? Like, for example, the 14-year-old, or we just reviewed and reacted to a 14-year-old sexually assaulting a 91-year-old woman, right? What if the predator, first time trying to do something, they're kids, they're teens, preteens and stuff like that, right? What if we put them into rehabilitation and rehabilitation doesn't work for them? And that was their first offense. Then they're in rehabilitation years later, like it's been proven. They come and commit an act again saying they couldn't control the urges. And some of them have just started off with just pornography. But you're telling me ain't nothing going to happen? I don't know what dimension you're in, what plane you're in, but I'm on Earth with actual humans. I'm not talking about the spirit in me. I'm talking about the human, me, the actual person. I got a mind, soul, and spirit, right? A heart, a gut that talks like, yo, I have a conscience. You telling me you don't got one? I have a mind. I know you got a brain in there. Use that shit to think.
About redirecting the defendant's attention. It's not just about how much time a person spends in prison. It's about understanding the harm of this behavior. It's about all of the other kinds of restraints that sex offenders are ordered rightly to live under at the end of the day. The sentences in these cases include not only prison time, but restraints on computer use, sometimes for decades. Restraints on.
Why would you let a predator use a computer? Why would you let them be online? I mean, I would understand, right? Okay, keep them away from the computer for right? If no kids got online. But we're in America. We're in the United States of America. Tell me what kid doesn't go online? And that's where they go the most, especially now in 2025. Before the internet, they used to drive around, I guess, meet up and search. Well, guess what? The internet does all this shit for them now. And bet you wanna be lenient? Yo.
An ability to go near children, sometimes for decades. All of these things judges consider in order to affect what Congress has required, which is a sentence that is sufficient but not greater than necessary.
Yo, wait a minute. These are predators. You're telling me you want to reward a predator? They're in jail, rehabilitation, in jail time. I mean, so you're telling me you want them to be in jail and have access to phones, to TV, to computers? What dimension is this woman from? Yo, I'm telling y'all. People wonder why I say that we're walking in hell. Y'all think that hell is in the Bible? No, man. Y'all better wake up and smell that coffee. I don't know what type of coffee you drink, man. Wake up. I mean, listen, take a sip of that coffee. I walk outside, get some fresh air. I don't know. Take a shot of Jack Daniels, some Hennessy, but wake up. Get your brain together. Like, did y'all just hear what she just said? They're not going to jail to get rewarded. This itch is tripping.
To promote the purposes of punishment.
Yeah. Well, let me just ask you about that last point, because you've said this a couple of times now, the sentences that Congress require. Congress wanted the guidelines to be mandatory. Congress wrote the guidelines in this case. They wanted them to be mandatory. They gave the courts factors to consider to choose between the sentencing range. Congress wanted you to choose between 97 and 121 months. That's what Congress wanted. The Supreme Court in Booker said that the sentencing guidelines would be discretionary. So the Supreme Court gave you the discretion. But if we're talking about what Congress has wanted, Congress wanted them to be mandatory. My only point in raising that is just to say that you had discretion in these cases, and you used your discretion to choose the sentences that you did. Let me ask you about some of the things, though, that you said, because you said this morning, and I appreciated it, how you want to direct the defendants. You want to get them to own up to what they've done in these cases. And I thought that was powerful, and I thought it was right. But let me just ask you about what you said to this defendant. You said to this defendant, through whom you sentenced to only 3 months in prison, that your collection, I'm quoting you, your collection at the time that you were caught was not actually as large as it seems. The government felt the need to respond to you on the record. They said the government doesn't believe that it's appropriate to just disregard the number of images, that the number of images can be appropriate. And indeed, in this case, the defendant has amassed an extremely large collection of child pornography. But you disregarded that. You also told the defendant, you said this seems to be a case where you were fascinated by sexual images involving what were essentially your peers. And then you went on to say the defendant was merely trying to satisfy his curiosity. Curiosity is your word. One more thing on this, same idea. You said you were viewing, this is you to the defendant, you were viewing sex acts between children who were not much younger than you. And this whole discussion is about why you're only giving him 3 months. Judge, he was 18. These kids are 8. I don't see in what sense they're peers. I've got a 9-year-old, a 7-year-old, and a 16-month-old at home. And I live in fear that they will be exposed to, let alone exploited, in this kind of material. I don't understand you saying to him that they're peers. and that therefore you were viewing sex acts between children who are not much younger than you, and that's somehow a reason to only give him 3 months. Help me understand this.
I'm trying to understand it too, Holly. I'm trying to get it.
Senator, I don't have the record of that entire case in front of me. What I recall with respect to that case is that unlike the many other child pornography offenders that I had seen as a judge and that I was aware of in my work on the Sentencing Commission, this particular defendant had just graduated from high school.
Okay.
And some of, perhaps not all when you were looking at the records, but some of the materials that he was looking at were older teenagers, were older victims. And the point, Senator, is that you said before the probation office is making recommendations and they do so on a case-by-case basis. That is what Congress requires. That this is not done at the level of.
But you had discretion, Judge. You admit that, right? I just want to be clear.
Senator, sentencing is a discretionary act of a judge, but it's not a numbers game. It's not. I understand that Congress wanted the guidelines to be mandatory. The Supreme Court in 2005 determined that they couldn't be, in an opinion by Justice Scalia, determined that they couldn't be. And Congress since then has not come back to amend them or to change them or to make them mandatory again. And so there is discretion at sentencing. And when you look at the sentencing statutes, Congress has given the judges not only the discretion to make the decision, but required judges to do so on an individualized basis, taking into account not only the guidelines, but also various factors, including the age of the defendant, the circumstances of the defendant, the terrible nature of the crime, the harm to the victims. All of these factors are taken into account, and the probation office assists the court in determining what sentence is sufficient but not greater than necessary. And I appreciate, Senator, that you have looked at these from the standpoint of statistics, that you're questioning whether or not I take them seriously or I have some reason to handle them in either a different way than my peers.
Facts, Commander. Keyword victims. 3 months doesn't do justice for those victims. She gave them 2 months. In fact, they're victims. She's so lenient on these predators. She said because he was 18 years old. Why was he looking at child pornography? He was 18 years old, but the pornography he was looking at were of kids of 8. 10 years older than these little kids. So you're telling me that you're actually justifying the fact that he was looking at pornography, right? But because because he's 18, you consider him a kid? They're nowhere near the same age. Let an 18-year-old boy come around my daughter and try to touch her or try to get her to watch some type of pornography like that. See my point? Boy, I'm telling you, and people wonder why. These politicians wonder why people take, street justice into their hands. Like, come on, man. She has given rapists lesser time than what they deserve. Y'all think she was lenient just on the child pornography cases? Go search her up. Go see how lenient she was on these sexual abusers.
Or a different way than other cases, and I assure you that I do not. That if you were to look at the greater body of not only my more than 100 sentences, but also the sentences of other judges in my district and nationwide, you would see a very similar exercise of attempting to do what it is that judges do, attempting to take into account all of the relevant factors and do justice individually in each case.
Well, let's keep talking about this case. You also said to this individual who is an adult, tried as an adult, 18 years old, you also said to him, besides saying that you thought his victims were his peers, you also said there's no reason to think that you are a pedophile. And then you went on to say, again, that's another reason why you weren't going to give him, you're only going to give him 3 months because you had judged that he wasn't a pedophile. And then you said, and this is something I really need your help understanding, then you apologized to him.
What?
And I just have to tell you, I can't quite figure this out. You said to him, this is a truly difficult situation. I appreciate that your family's in the audience. I feel so sorry for them and for you and for the anguish this has caused all of you. I feel terrible about the collateral consequences of this conviction. And then you go on to say, sex offenders are truly shunned in our society.
Do you feel terrible for the victims, Katanya? How about the victims, their families, what they're feeling? How about the justice for them? Didn't you become a judge to give victims justice? So why are you on the side of the perpetrator?
I'm just trying to figure out, Judge, is he the victim here or the victims the victims?
Ha!
You're saying that you're apologizing to him. You're saying you're sorry for the anguish this has caused him. There was a victim impact statement in this case. It didn't get read into the record, but it was there. I've described the videos that we have. You say earlier in the case, you talk about how heinous these crimes are, and you describe them to your credit. You describe how heinous it is to your credit. And yet here you are giving him 3 months and apologizing to him and saying you feel sorry for the anguish it's caused him, and also saying you think that sex offenders are truly shunned in our society. So just talk about that. Help me understand. I mean, is he a victim? Is that your view here? Is that why you said this? Is that what you meant by it?
Senator, I again don't have the entire record. I remember in that particular case, I considered it to be unusual, in part for the reasons that I described. I remember in that case that defense counsel was arguing for probation, in part because he argued that here we had a very young man, just graduated from high school. He presented all of his diplomas and certificates and the things that he had done, and argued, consistent with what I was seeing in the record, that this particular defendant had gotten into this in a way that was, I thought, inconsistent with some of the other cases that I had seen. Part of what a judge is doing.
Am I wrong for saying I want to pimp slap her? I want to flip her upside down and throw her into a trash can. Would I be wrong for saying that? I just want to flip her upside down and throw her into a dumpster. Screw the trash can. I'm going to go to the, you know what? Yep, Chinese dumpsters. I need to just flip her upside down. I'm only 4'11". Where my baby pops at? I need my bodyguard. I need you to flip this woman upside down with your 2 fingers like you do me. Right? But instead of being nice and gentle with me, like you are with me, throw the hoe into the Chinese dumpster right there across the street. Please do me that favor. Jeez.
As required by Congress, is thinking about this case, thinking about unwarranted sentencing disparities. That's in the statute. Other cases, other determinations that a judge may have made about this. I don't remember in detail this particular case, but I do recall it being unusual. And so my only point to you is that judges are doing the work of assessing in each case a number of factors that are set forward by Congress, all against the backdrop of heinous criminal behavior. But the guidelines are no longer mandatory. Congress has not. corrected, as you would say, the Supreme Court's determination about that, Justice Scalia's decision that the guidelines are not mandatory. Congress has not said that. And
yo, she said the guidelines are not mandatory. He just told her they're mandatory. Then she said Congress has not said that. Does she need a hearing aid? Yo, we need to dump this hole in the dumpster. That's what we gotta do.
And Congress has given judges factors to consider. This, in my view, was an unusual case that had a number of factors that the defendant was pointing out, that the government was pointing out, that the probation office was pointing out. And I sent this 18-year-old to 3 months in federal prison under circumstances that were presented in this case because I wanted him to understand that what he had done was harmful, that what he had done was unlawful, that what he had done violated the law and needed to be punished, not only by prison, but also by all of the other.
They do have discretion, Commander. But listen, judges do got discretion, right? Oh, yes, they do. It's not just her doing this. Oh, she is not the only one doing this, but she has done it the worst. 3 months, Commander. Right? It's like if you go look up the statistics and you look up at all the judges, right? She's doing it the worst. 3 months. There's victims involved. A lot of judges are given chamo slaps on the hand. Yo. And there's a lot of them fighting back. Like what I'm saying is like it's a war between the judges, right? It's like us here in our communities, right? It's like a yin and yang, right? And what's crazy is, right? That's why I tell people, right? These judges, right, get voted in, right? Because Commander does make a good point there. But at the end of the day, the guidelines are mandatory. They have all the discretion they could have, right? But out of all the judges, she's giving people, right, lesser time. Out of all the judges, like, come on, you got to be real serious. I haven't seen a judge give, a sentence of 3 months for this type of case. That's why I was like, damn, like other judges have given a year, 2 years. You want to sit here and tell me that 3 months is enough for this 18-year-old and there are victims? And the victims are from the ages of 8 and probably a little bit up or probably under. I know that a lot of judges are lenient, but not this lenient. And what's crazy is, right, when Biden put her in office, this is one of the things this is not the first time Judge Katanya Jackson has been put into the front line like that, been thrown under the bus like that. You see where I'm coming from? And what's crazy is I said that when they put her into office, I said it, watch them throw all this shit on her. She's going to take the baggage, the baggage, yeah. Everything's going to land on her, right? Because it was crazy is, right? He was so hyped, right? One of the black judges he put into office to get a lot of us in the urban community to vote. But did you not see the background? I was one of the people that reacted to it. I spoke on it when Biden put in it. And I said it. I'm like, it's crazy, right? She's going to be the one. She chose it. She knew what was going to happen. So I don't feel bad for her. I'm not going to sit here and lie. She chose to be the face of all this. I said it from the beginning. Because it's crazy to say it. We have a lot of predators in office. A lot of these politicians are predators, are bullies. They're not in there for the right reasons. But what's crazy is, right, everybody, right, and people get mad when I say it. They're so focused on only the presidential election that they forget that we got to come out here and vote for the Supreme Court and the legislators. We put them in office. Every 2 years, when it's time to vote for the mayor, the senators, and all of them, right? You do not see the election offices as full as you do when it's time to go vote for the president. So these people automatically get put in. It's not my first time saying this. I say this time after time because I've seen it in person. I've talked to politicians. There are good politicians out here. The messed up part about it is, right, we the people don't go check their policies out. We don't look into it. We don't research it as much as we do Donald Trump or Kamala Harris or Biden. I don't know what all this has turned into, but we're not taking it serious. So, I mean, if we want to be real about it, we're not. There's a lot of us fighting, but guess what? We get pushed to the side to the point that some of us just say, fuck it, we just going to sway. And Commander is right. The question is why? Why are these judges, not just Catania, right? Why are these judges given light consequences and letting them out early too? Bingo. Oh, Commander said bingo up there, but no, bingo to what she just said right there. Ring of predators trading videos and photos of kitty abuse. Now, this is why I said 3 months. Yo, out of all these judges, she's been the only one that I've seen give 3 months to a case like this. 3 months. No wonder, everybody's on that one case. And if there's another judge right now doing it, whoo, she's taking the heat for it too. She chose it. She knew what she was getting into when she, sat here and shook Biden's hand. She knew it. Like, come on, man. I don't get tired of saying it. We say the white man is the only one with hate. Huh. When the hell are we going to stop killing our next of kin? Because if they're racist, we're racist too amongst each other. So unless we stop it amongst each other, we're not going to be able to do anything for each other. I know y'all don't want to hear that shit, but at the end of the day, it's the truth. It's the facts.
Other things that the law requires of a judge who is sentencing in this area.
But Judge, with all due respect, and I'm telling you what, I'll be direct with you. I am questioning your discretion and your judgment. That's exactly what I'm doing. I'm not questioning you as a person. I'm not questioning your excellence as a judge, frankly. But you said it. You had discretion, and that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm questioning how you used your discretion in these cases. And to me, to take a guy who's 18 years old, who has what the government says is an extremely large collection of prepubescent pornography, 8-year-olds, 10-year-olds, 11-year-olds. We're talking about, gobs of hours of time here that he has. And you say to him, what? That you say that, well, it was just a collection. He was just viewing it, and it was, essentially they were his peers. You say to him that he's not a pedophile. I don't know how you know that. I don't know why that's relevant to the guidelines, but maybe it is. You say he's not a pedophile. You say that you're very sorry for him and what he suffered, and then you give him 3 months when, frankly, a liberal prosecutor is asking for 2 full years. It does seem like an extraordinary case to me. It would bother me no matter what. It really bothers me when in every case, child porn case you've had discretion, you've sentenced below the guidelines and below the government's recommendation. And saying that sex offenders are truly shunned in our society, as you said to him, it reminds me, it echoes what you said as early as law school on that Harvard Law Review article Senator Blumenthal was just talking about. There you say, and I'm quoting you now, in the current climate of fear, hatred, and revenge associated with the release of convicted sex criminals, courts must be especially attentive to legislative enactments regarding these sex criminals. I guess like this, the enactment here, the Protect Act that Congress enacted. So I want to try to understand here, is it your view that society is too hard on sex offenders? You say they truly are shunned in society. You wrote that many of these laws are products of a climate of fear, hatred, and revenge. So just is that still your view? Do you think that these laws are too tough, that we're too tough on sex offenders. Explain what you meant in this case in 2013, and it seems to be the same thing you said many years ago.
Yo, I mean, isn't that what the law is for? Aren't you supposed to be tough on these sex offenders? But yet these judges want to sit here and reward them. Why? Oh, my bad. Commander hit the nail right there. Boom. She hit the hammer right on the nail. Boom. Nah, man, she fucked that, man. The weasel popped out when Commander just pop goes the weasel on some real shit. Like, yo, are these judges that are doing this, do they have parts into this sex trafficking rings? Are they getting paid? Are they getting money? They must be getting a cut. They have to be getting a cut because they know damn well what they do with these child pornography videos and these pictures that they be having. But all these teachers, right, surfacing up, right, from boom out of nowhere. No wonder they're, they walking scot-free. I've been saying it for the past couple of years. Why? Because of judges like this. But what can we, the people, do? See, situations like this right now, not even in 2025, could bring us together. We should be questioning ourselves on that too. See, I'm not just going to come at her and her mistakes. I'm going to come at us and our mistakes too. Because what the hell are we doing? Oh, some of us are sitting down waiting around, right, for our puppet master's next command. We waiting for Superman to come down and save us. Oh, wait a minute. We trying to figure out which of us humans can really change in a phone booth and come save the world. Which one is it? Is it you, Commander? Is it me? Nah, it's probably my 8-year-old daughter. She gonna get on the booth and turn into a huge Superman. If she puts her mind to it, because now if you think you're a kangaroo, you're a kangaroo. Don't forget that.
Senator, it's not the same thing I said many years ago. Many years ago, as a law school student, I was evaluating a new set of legislation, state laws about registration, and I was analyzing them as law students do. Wasn't about the sex crime. It was about the characterization of the law. Is it a punitive law? Is it a prescriptive law? And how would a court go about determining that?
Man, I just want to smack her. I had to pause it. Because for years, I thought that these predators were going scot-free because of the law. And people was like, no, the system is doing what it's supposed to be doing. It's the people. I was like, what? Man, whatever. Yo, and now that I'm older, yeah, it is the people. It's the people. The system's not fucking broken. The system is doing exactly what it's supposed to be doing. It's the people the people that are in the system running that job. Right? The ones that get a hold of power. Those are the ones that sit here and tamper with that shit. Because you're telling me that you can give a fucking predator that sit here exchanging child pornography of kids of that age 10 years, and y'all dumbasses are sitting here giving them 3 months to 2 years when they can get more than 2 years? Oh, wait until y'all learn the law book. Go ahead, go start reading that, John. How much time they can give the ones that actually commit the crime? And I'm not talking about child pornography. I'm talking about the actual predators.
Was the frame that I used then. It could have been about anything. It was about the characterization of legislation.
But could I, just to, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you. I've only got 2.5 minutes left, but I just want to make sure I understand this. I'm quoting from your conclusion now. This is on page 1728 of the Harvard Law Review. This is your conclusion. In the current climate of fear, hatred, and revenge associated with the release of convicted sex criminals, courts need to be especially attentive to legislative enactments. So that's a conclusory statement. You're saying that there is a climate of fear, hatred, and revenge that are informing these laws. And you described some of the laws earlier, I think, Megan's Law and others. Senator Cruz asked you about some of those. I'm trying to understand what you meant by that.
Oh, wait, Senator Cruz interviewed her too? Oh, I got to go look up Senator Cruz. We're going to have a part 2 on this, John, right? Because we still got to look up the video, right? We're going to be reviewing it. We're going to do this all today. So we're going to do lives today like we did the other day, man, my daughter's off from school until Tuesday. So we got this whole weekend. So we're going to be reviewing and researching later on the trad wives and alpha males, gender relations in the blender, right? Chicago Institute of Politics, right? But we're going to do part 2 of this video because now that I know that Cruz sat here and questioned her, I want to see how Cruz questioned her. Listen, I know a lot of people hate Cruz, right? But I don't have a problem with Cruz. Like, it's unless you got something that could really expose him on doing some fucked up shit, then I'll shut the fuck up. But other than that, yo, I don't have a problem with Cruz, yo. He been on point and he's been checking these mofos, yo.
You're saying something similar in the Hawkins case. You're saying that society truly shuns our sex offenders.
Senator, with all due respect,
Trying to excuse this.
my article is now in the record. People can read it and they can see that I was evaluating these laws not to determine their constitutionality, not to say that they shouldn't be enacted, but to talk about the ways in which courts make determinations about the character of the law and all of the consequences that follow from them. In law school, I had not had any experience in terms of the criminal justice system, and I was doing what law students do, which is seeking to analyze in a creative way new legislation.
So while you was analyzing and researching, did you learn anything? His question is, are your thoughts still the same? And apparently right now you can't seem to answer the question. You're giving him nothing but excuses. And I'm so tired of people giving excuses. I'm tired of, sitting here feeling people's hot breath through the damn screen. That Jones stinks. Shut the fuck up. And, give me a good reason. Give me a good explanation of why, you're doing what you're doing. Right now, I just keep hearing excuses. My head hurts. That joint is pounding to the point where my brain want to explode because you sound stupid. And I didn't call her stupid just in case for those in the back. I didn't call the hoe stupid. I did call her a hoe. But I didn't call her stupid. But the bitch sounds stupid.
With respect to Mr. Hawkins, I was doing what judges do, which is look at the statute, 18 USC 3553A, exercise discretion as Congress has required us to do, take into account all of the various aspects of a particular case and make a determination consistent with my authority, my judgment, and understanding fully the egregious nature of the crime. As you said, even the prosecutors in these cases are not recommending guideline sentences. The probation office, which is an independent authority.
At least the prosecutor recommended 2 years. You recommended 3 months. Please get the wax out your ears and comprehend what the hell he's trying to tell you.
Looking at these cases and the facts related to them are not recommending guideline sentences. This is a particular area where the commission has seen an enormous amount of disparity and has in fact asked Congress to come back and address to help judges who are looking at these cases to be able to rely on the guidelines.
Which Congress has declined to do.
Senator, in that case, we have the statute that Congress has enacted concerning penalties, and we have judges who are doing their level best to make sure that people are held accountable as they need to be in our society in a fair and just way.
Mr. Chairman, my time's expired. Thank you, Judge. I have no further questions at this time.
I don't even know what to say.
Just checking with my staff. So the original statute was passed in 2003, the Scalia decision 2005, the Booker decision?
So the original statute that I'm talking about, I'm just thinking I felt like it was in the 80s.
You're outdated.
We think there may
In
have been
2003, I'm
2003.
all right.
And the
And
decision by
Justice Scalia,
Scalia.
the Booker decision made the guidelines advisory, so that even though judges have to calculate them, they are no longer binding. And what it meant in the statute is that the guidelines became one factor among many that judges consider at sentencing.
I'm not going to opine on Justice Scalia and his conduct and decision as it relates to the overall topic. I hope we all agree that we want to do everything in our power, reasonably within our power, to lessen the incidence of pornography and exploitation of children. You have made that clear. That is your position too. But I just want to tell you, Congress doesn't have clean hands in this conversation. We haven't touched this now for 15, 16, or 17 years. And you aren't the only one who faced this kind of a challenge with the cases before you. I said this morning, and it bears repeating, in United States versus Klotz, Trump appointed Judge Sarah Pitlick, Senator Hawley's choice for the Eastern District of Missouri, sentenced an individual convicted of possession of child pornography to only 60 months, well below the 135 to 168 month sentence recommended by the guidelines.
So Trump did the
Mr.
same
Chairman,
thing.
you've mentioned
Let me
this now.
finish. I'll finish.
Both parties are doing the same shit. Both parties.
No, of course I'll recognize you. Senator Hawley, you've said some very powerful things in support of this judge, but clearly she faced a situation where she decided she would not follow the guidelines and took a sentence of less than half of what they recommended. We have created a situation because of our inattention and unwillingness to tackle an extremely controversial area in Congress and left it to the judges. And I think we have to accept some responsibility for that, Senator.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say, Chairman Durbin, since you mentioned Judge Pitlick in the Klotz case, she followed the prosecutor's recommendation in that case. As I've said over and over, part of my concern with Judge Jackson is that she has not followed the prosecutor's sentences. She didn't in the Hawkins case we were just talking about, or the guidelines. And I'm happy we can have a policy debate about whether or not the guidelines are too lenient. I would argue in this era of exploding child pornography, they're not too lenient at all. I think you were right the first time when you voted in 2003 to make them tougher.
I will just say that I don't know if you sponsored a bill to change this. I'll be looking for it. But I will tell you that there isn't a long line of people waiting to co-sponsor this controversial issue. If we're going to tackle it, we should, but we should concede in the meantime that we've left judges in the lurch in many of these situations. There is no clarity in this situation. And I think to hold this judge responsible for the overall situation is to ignore our nonfeasance, malfeasance, whatever it might be, and lack of responsibility in dealing with it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Judge.
Oh shit. All right, it jumped right into the so the question is, right, and then I'm about to read y'all some questions that a lot of people have had, right, and it goes to this, right. A lot of people have said, right, we have to do more, but what can we do? If a victim kills their predator, why do they have to do time, right? Why do they have to do time? If a predator hurts someone, it takes time to put them away unless they're actual evidence. But what do you do when this person leaves behind none? There are actual perpetrators that leave no evidence behind, and unless they, the only thing that this victim has is either how can I say it, a witness or something like that to back them up. But what do you do, right? So it seems like the justice system has to be updated. There has to be some changes done. What can we do, right? So as we the people, I feel as though we want these changes done, we're going to have to get off our asses, right? And go talk to these politicians, right? And demand what we want. We're going to have to do something. We're going to have to figure out something. The biggest question is what type of changes, right? How we going to make these changes? I mean, I'm in Philadelphia. I know that who I have to go to is going to have to be to, Sherelle Parker, Brandon Boyle, Getty Lozada. It's a few of them. Julio Vulgos. I have to go and meet up with all of them. I don't know who are the legislators, right? The representatives of your city and where you're watching from, right? But from whatever city you're watching from, you have to aim towards your legislators. We want changes in our cities, in our state, right? We're going to have to do this. We're going to have to do the one thing that a lot of people hate doing, right? Getting off the couches, stop being lazy, stop them watching Netflix, right? For real. Right? We're going to have to get off our comfortability, right? And do what is, needed from our side. We've gotten lazy too. Are we able to take accountability for our mistakes, for our fuck ups? Because at the end of the day, we can make this change, we can make this difference, but what are we going to do about it? See, I'm sitting here saying this because I've made my stand. I've proven time after time that I'm not scared to talk to these politicians, right? And how can I say it? Have them meet my demands. Like, it's not even about getting ratchet. Because at the end of the day, right, you can sit here and have conversations with these people. And if you say the right things, you can convince the right people. The messed up part about it is, right, I feel as though that not enough of us care. I hear so many say they do. But in reality, do they? Because once again, like I heard Katanya Jackson say, right, I hear nothing but excuses. And she didn't say it. That's all I heard her say. Excuse after excuse after excuse. But I have a question too, listening to what was just said by, the main honcho himself, right? He said there seems like there has to be changes. There needs to be changes done, right, with the judicial system. How can those changes come about? And will we, the people, come together to get these changes done? Is it possible? Can we take accountability? Can we admit that we're not really doing what we got to do as parents, friends, teachers, as employees, employers, right? As people, right? How can I say it? As people of our community. So once again, like, we want these changes done. We're going to have to get off our lazy behinds and do something, right? And I'm just speaking in general. I'm not speaking about everybody. The shoe fits, man, where that itch. And if it doesn't apply, let it fly. But it's crazy how watching this video, I've noticed that, both sides aren't innocent. Both sides are guilty. But it's crazy that the Democrat Party is seeming to be more dirty than the Republican. Republican Party is dirty. But I always thought that they was evil growing up, right? The way they was talked about and everything. But now it's kind of like, shit, I've done my research. I've gone so far as back as I know that everything started off Republican. People have tried to, debate me on this, John. But like I tell people, bring me proof that would shut me up. Just bring that proof and I'll shut up. That's why I don't like going into debates, because people are like, oh, da, da, da. I'm like, damn, but I got this to prove. I got this. Like, come on, man, let's check the dates. The Democrat Party didn't come until, after, I forgot when it was, but shit, that'll be a topic for another live, for people that are willing to come up and talk about it. Because these are always open panels, but like, like I've been told, I bring up topics that, are very touchy and make people very uncomfortable. That's the whole point. Let's talk about it. Like, what I'm going to sit here and just make y'all feel comfortable? No, these are the things that are actually happening around us. Some of us don't even know. We're so caught up, and I don't know where the fuck we got our noses. But shit, as leaders of our communities, we're not telling people to sit here, oh, do. No, we're just telling you, look, listen, stand up. Make your stand. Don't just talk about it. Walk it. But you know what? Till next time, this y'all shorty Racheal. I hope all of y'all have had a blessed and humble morning. Continue to have a blessed and humble day, man. Let us shorty know what y'all think about this video. I will be back in a little bit. I just got to get my kids together. They're going to be getting up soon. So, breakfast, more cleaning. I hate that, man. A parent's job never finishes, yo. But yeah, let us shorty know what y'all think about that, right? What are y'all opinions? What are y'all perspectives? What changes do y'all think that we could do, right? And hopefully on the next live, right, we got more people that are willing to come up, right, and talk. Like, it's up to y'all. We can make a change, but it's up to every individual. It's like, you know how they say, right, you can't love nobody else unless you learn how to love yourself. You're not going to know how to respect somebody else unless you learn how to respect yourself. So how can you fight for somebody else if you can't even fight for yourself? So let's make it make sense. It starts from home. It starts individually. We have to figure it out. So hopefully y'all enjoyed the stream, man, and I will see y'all a little later on. I gotta get some shit together. I gotta get some more Mary Jane, and then we're gonna get the second part of this live started, yo. We're gonna talk about what's going on in these schools, and then we're gonna talk about the University of Chicago. I think the University of Chicago is gonna be first, but let me get off this John, man, and get started so that way I can get back on this John, man. If you haven't subbed up, make sure y'all sub up, right? Because the shorty doesn't schedule lives. I just pop up. I don't do good with scheduling lives, right? I'm always end up disappointing someone that way. But make sure y'all do sub up, man. And if y'all, enjoyed that stream, smash the like button for the shorty, man. If y'all didn't, the dislike button is right there. Help a shorty out, right? Share these videos. Let's bring awareness together. Bring me down. You may try to silence me, but the warrior in me will never give up. You'll see. In the face